Hello, hello. Ron Callis here with another episode of Automation Unplugged. Today is Wednesday, September 8th, 2021. I know many of you are very, very busy, and maybe many of you are busier than you've ever been. So if you are able to watch us live, thank you for doing that. If you're watching on replay or listening to the podcast, thank you for doing that as well. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to check over with my social platforms and see if, in fact, we are streaming. Okay. Looks like I just got a message from LinkedIn. Looks like we are streaming live on LinkedIn. This is positive. And I'm going to click over onto the Facebooks. Awesome. There we are. I think we are live. So cool. If you are out there, and I see Jessica's messaging me, and she said we are live on Facebook and LinkedIn. It's always a bit of a science project when we go live, kind of hoping that technology is going to behave. I know after 4 years, you'd like, well, Ron, don't you just know that it's going to work? And unfortunately, the answer is no. I don't always know that it's going to work. So I need to check everything. But it looks like we are live. Seems that we got some people tuning in. Definitely drop us a comment and let us know where you're coming to us from. We are monitoring both the Facebook and LinkedIn stream, so you'll get some live feedback from us right away. And here in my software, I use a piece of software called BeLive, and at least the way I know how to use it, I at least see over here on the right, I see the comments coming in live from Facebook. I don't think I see the live comments from LinkedIn, but I do go after the show and I do respond to all of those comments. And often we'll have our guest will do the same. But you are not here to hear me ramble. You're here to listen to our guest. So today on show 186, we have Jeff Binette Binette. Jeff's going to correct me as soon as I go live. You guys, I should know this. I've known Jeff forever too, so shame on me. Jeff is the president of SmartHome Solutions out of Maine, and he's got a fun story of how he got started. And he, like the rest of you, is trying to figure out how to manage being so busy with all the stresses coming down on us with our businesses right now. So let's go ahead and bring in Jeff. Let me clickify the button. There you are. Hey, Jeff, How are you?
Good, Ron. How are you?
I am good. Jeff, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So, Jeff, where are you coming to us from?
Kennebunk, Maine, Kennebunkport. So people that have visited, I guess where the most famous thing would be where the Bushes have their summer home. So people are looking for an idea where we're at, southern part of the state.
I was going to say Kennebunkport. I remember that name being mentioned in the news frequently through the 80s and the 90s.
Yeah.
And that's because did the Bush dad and the kids would all,
yeah, they're still here. I mean, Bush Jr., 43, and his wife are here. And actually she frequents our next door neighbor quite a bit. So the Secret Service will pull in and into the parking lot and do their thing. And
who's your neighbor? What is that? Is that a restaurant or?
No, she's a interior designer.
Okay.
So they, so Mrs. Bush will come over and look at stuff with her and decide on things they're going to do at the house. It happened a lot when, 41 and Barbara passed away. They kind of came in and they kind of redid the house, how they wanted it, obviously.
Sure.
But funny story with the Bushes is when I first started, I was probably, I don't even remember what year it was, but with when Putin came to visit 43, I was at the time, didn't have an employees. I was by myself, doing the work, and I had a blue pickup truck with a cap on it, and it was full of boxes, chock full of like just brown boxes, and you could see through the glass and everything. And I went by the Bush's compound, knowing that he was in town by accident, just turned the wrong way. And then I came to where they had basically a roadblock, and there was two guys in machine guns basically just staring at me. And they were like, I rolled down my window. They're like, "Where are you going?" I was like, "Well, I'm just trying to go home. I mean, that way." And they're like, and I was thinking, like, they see all this truck with a ton of boxes in it, and I'm thinking, I'm not making it out of here. They're going to pull me over and search me and everything. And they just were like, "All right, well, you can go, but don't stop. If you stop, you'll have some problems." So as I drove by the compound, and every driveway had a state police car in it along that whole like half-mile route, and then there was the next roadblock where they were blocking off all the traffic and stuff.
And Putin was physically at that house, at the compound?
He was at the compound. So yeah, it was pretty intense, and I will never forget that experience of shaking. I actually hesitated when I was like, he asked me where I was going. I was like, like I was so
you
nervous.
Forgot where you were going.
I was so nervous. I had a machine gun like literally 4 feet from my face, and I was just like, I didn't, just super nervous. I would say that. So, but yeah, it's I'll never forget that. It was but they're great people in our town. They've done so much for our community, and they come out. They're always at the beach walking the dogs. So they're really good people, and we're happy to have them around.
That's awesome. Tell us about your business. Kind of what type of projects do you guys work on? Residential, commercial, big or small? Like how would you define some of the work you do?
I'd say we're probably 95% residential. We do some light commercial stuff, but for the most part, it's primary residential. And, I'd say I'm one of these people, I've never turned down a job, big or small.
Sure.
And I think to a fault, sometimes my employees are like, "Well, why are we doing this job?" Because it's just like this little easy job. And I was like, I've always been one of these people, and maybe where I grew up from is that, that little job could turn into a big job, and those people can talk to other people. And so if you do a small little job for somebody and they're happy and they're as a claim that you did that work for them, they're going to tell somebody else. And so that's kind of how I always grown my business. And so I still do that to this day, even though I know I probably don't have time for those type of projects in my life, but at the same time, I actually enjoy doing them for people, and they have a need for our services just as well as someone that's building a 10,000 square foot house. So yeah, we kind of do everything, soup to nuts, projects from zero to over $1 million. So,
what's the makeup of your team? How's your team formulated?
Yeah, so we have 4 technicians in the field, a project manager, and then my office coordinator and myself. So it's 7 of us.
Okay. You do most of the sales?
I do. Yes. That's my primary role is sales, and obviously managing the business from a holistic standpoint and goal oriented stuff and where we're going, and making sure we, keep the lights on and, keep plugging away.
Well, I'll get this question out of the way, and then I want to go back in time and kind of find out where you're from. But how's the COVID time? How's 2020 to the present been for you?
Well, I'd say like most, and I think I mentioned this earlier when we were talking before, is that the first part of COVID when it first hit was, very scary from a business standpoint, and not knowing where things were going. And where, if I was going to have to lay off employees, if I was going to have a business, what was going to happen? How long was this going to go on? And my employees obviously wanted to make sure that they felt confident. And so I had to kind of exude confidence of we'll get through this. But at the same time, in my mind was like, I hope so. Obviously having savings put away, helped make me feel a little bit better about what position we were in. But I just didn't know how long, if that was going to last 6 months to a year, how long could I hold on running the business without potential revenue coming in? And obviously we had projects going on, so we had some money coming in, but it wasn't like I was worried about new stuff. And it wasn't a month and a half later. And then next thing you know, it's been insane since. I mean, we haven't stopped. I'd say like last year, we probably did 60 to 70 Wi-Fi networks in people's houses. I mean, it was insane. I mean, we couldn't keep networking gear on the shelf, and we still can't. We order so much, and because people were moving up here to Maine from their Massachusetts houses and New York houses to come work here because they didn't want to stay in New York and they want to stay in Boston. So they came up here to work, and they needed to make sure they had, to be able to do their Zoom calls up here efficiently. So it was pretty scary. And since then, though, like I said, best years we've ever had, which I feel lucky for that, because there is obviously some companies and businesses locally that didn't make it, and restaurants or small shops that just couldn't survive the lack of business for a long period of time. And so we feel fortunate that we were essential to people's livelihoods and what we did.
And the latest Delta surge, have you seen that in any way affecting any sort of patterns in biz dev, sales, hiring? Is there, there's this surge that's happening around the country right now. This is September 2021. Mm-hmm. Is that affected anything, or is it more of the same? You're just busy.
Yeah, just more of the same. I think, for the most part, I mean, I have kids in the school system, so I'm dealing with the variant stuff through that. But from my client standpoints, most of them are still pretty, I would say, somewhat relaxed about it because they're vaccinated, and we're vaccinated. So, as a business owner, I didn't force any of my employees to be vaccinated. They all chose to, which was obviously something I was worried about as well.
Sure.
Trying to cross that HR issue. But, in general, I think, we're still seeing people moving to Maine. And I don't know that there's going to be a push for people to go back to work anytime soon. And if they do to go back, I think it's going to be less than they ever did before. Yeah. And so it might be they work home 3 days a week and they go in an office 2 days a week, or they have to reserve a particular room or desk versus having their own space. Commercial real estate, I think, is for a big change, obviously. And, we'll see what the future holds, and eventually hopefully get through this and maybe things get back to normal. But I don't know if they'll ever go back for people to go back to work and commute all the time.
No, I think the world is forever changed. And so, yeah, I agree. I don't think we're going to go back, at least to the old normal. I think we have this new normal, whatever that is.
Whatever that is, yeah.
Let's go back in time. How did you land in this industry? So go back as far as you're willing to go, college or before. Help us understand your background.
Well, I guess I'll go back to like when I was 12, but my parents bought a restaurant when I was 12, and I was mentioning to you, my background sounded much like a different guy that was on here at a different time. But so my father was a builder all along, owned a construction company, and that's kind of why I feel like my love of building came into, or being around houses and residences came to be. But I used to have to shovel out the foundations. I used to go with my dad to fill up the kerosene heaters in the wintertime to make sure that the foundations would be thawed out for the guys to work the next day. So all that kind of stuff. But owning a restaurant with my parents, and I had two older brothers, so we were, in a close proximity of family within 5-6 feet in a 120-degree kitchen. You tend to learn to, I guess, have to compromise and learn how to work through adversity.
Get along. There's really no other option. They're at arm's reach.
Yeah, and if you know anything about brothers, I mean, that was the challenging time of our lives when we were.
Me and my brother get along great now, but when we were 12 through 18, there were a lot of fists thrown. I'll just say that.
So we'll say some of that might have happened. So I think just growing up in that mentality, entrepreneurship. I remember asking my dad, at the time I was making like, I want to say like $265 an hour, and that was probably way beyond child labor laws. I mean, but because I was family, they didn't have to abide by any of that stuff. Right. So I wasn't making a lot of money, but it's that way. My father, I asked him for a raise, I think when I was 13, And I just remember him saying like, "Well, does this job put food on your table?" I was like, "Yeah." Like, and you have clothes on your back? I'm like, "Yeah." All right, get back to work. So
that was the negotiation right there.
There was no negotiations. And there was, I think that kind of taught me a lot about, just working hard. And, what I saw was I wasn't getting all these other things. I just saw my number and my paycheck,
But there's something to be said for restaurant entrepreneurship. I mean, that is hard business. Is it? I mean,
yeah, my mom was busy. I mean, my mom worked all the time, 7 to 7, 7 to 8, as a young kid, I was, doing my own dishes, in charge of my own laundry, just kind of because my mom was busy and they were always, 7 days a week. So, and I was there a lot, growing up. So, it was definitely, it taught me hard work, and it taught me what it means to put time in. And that is why I always wanted to own my own business, because I really did want to be in charge of my own destiny. And I believed if I worked hard like my parents did, that I would succeed and have a good life for my family. So
you knew it was possible.
Yes, I knew it was possible. Obviously there was ups and downs during those times, just with the way the market was in the early 90s, there was wasn't a great building market. So, it was like, there was things that my parents were obviously dealing with. I was young, so I didn't necessarily know what, the headaches that they had as a business owner that I know now, that I wish I had known then what they were dealing with. So I wouldn't have been probably a brat of,
right.
Punk of a 13, 14, 15-year-old. So then, I went to college at Bryant. A couple different stints of other colleges, but finished my last 2 years there. I played some baseball in college, and so I gave that up. Went to Bryant College in Rhode Island for my last 2 years, and focused on computer science. And graduated. Looked at doing jobs, COBOL programming, working for IBM, traveling everywhere. Decided that travel really wasn't what I wanted to do every week. Monday through Friday, come back home, do your laundry, go back again on Monday, and drive, get back into a plane again. So I worked for a company called Osram Sylvania, Sylvania lighting, light bulbs. And I worked in their IT management development program. And I did 3 different jobs over 8 months, different technologies. It was SQL Server, Oracle programming. Then I did, we built a data center. So I worked on a project that we designed a data center from the ground up, and I assisted with that, which was a very good project. And then left there, went to work for a company called Genuity, and I was a pre-sales engineer designing networks and web hosting clients. And and then it just and the company ended up in 2003 going bankrupt, and it was like 2,500 people. It was a rough time watching employees leaving every time you'd walk in, because I was sales. I was the last people to leave. So all the support staffs and everything, you'd walk in and people would be walking out with boxes, and that happened for over a year.
Was that tied? That was in 2003?
Yeah, it was the dot-com boom kind of stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was around that time, and I thought, the company, was great to me at the time. And I had a great run there. But after that, I realized that I didn't want to work for somebody else. So I came back to my dad and I was like, "Hey, can I take over the construction business?" And he was like, "No." He's like, "You don't want to do this." And he's like, "And I can't teach you what I know, that I've done over the last 40 years to you, and, until I retire." So anyways, I ended up finding my own way back into technology. And I had wired my own house in early 2000. So I kind of had some experience there. And like I mentioned to you, I read a book in 1995 when I was just out of college, called The Road Ahead from Bill Gates. And it talked about kind of tech revolution and where we were going with technology, and how it was going to affect our lifestyles in people's homes, and how, when you move around the home, how things would happen, voice control, things that we see now. That's
pretty early, 95. Yeah. If I'm remembering, And I've actually been to Seattle, and I've seen it from across the lake or the river or whatever it is. But he built a big house, and it
Yeah.
had a lot of this tech.
That was the
In
book. That was about the book. Basically it
Okay.
talked about the tech in the house. They were that far ahead on where things were. So that just kind of caught my interest. And then I just kind of filed it back. And then once I was trying to figure out what I was going to do for the rest of my life, it just popped in my head like, oh my God, this is what I want to do. I love this stuff, So just, started a business, took $10,000 of money, put it into a bank account, and started making calls to vendors and trying to figure out how I was going to buy product, and read and talked to people and just started doing it.
What were the biggest challenges when you were just getting started? Like, what do you remember was really painful?
Roughing in because I would take any job at that point, like you're just starting out. So I had a trailer. Someone wanted a home theater system in, and I had to go through a crawl, like a window, the trailer underneath, and a crawl on the concrete on my knees. And then I had to drill a hole and then stick a fish. And then I had to crawl back out and then go back into the house, try to find the fish tape by myself.
Because you didn't have any help.
I didn't have any help. So I'm sitting there like, and then I'm also, as you might tell, I'm a big guy. So getting in and out of that little window, and then also be feeling claustrophobic because I didn't know if I was going to get out or be calling the fire department to get me out. So yeah, there was the challenges of early on of roughing big houses. I used to rough in 5,000-6,000 square foot houses by myself, because that's all I knew. And so it took a while, but learning on the job was a big thing. Using drills that I hadn't, I didn't, even though I grew up with my father building, I never spent any time wiring houses and trying to learn what the right way to do it was. And, asking people questions and not being afraid of, putting myself out there that I wasn't, didn't know everything. I felt good about the technology. It was some of the other things that I didn't feel great about, So that's kind of how I got going with it. And it took me a while before I hired employees because I wanted, I just did everything myself. And then as I got busier, I just, I think my 10 years, I think, is my oldest employee that I have. Been here 10 years.
So in 2004 is when you started.
Yeah.
When did you hire the first employee? Do you know approximately when that was?
Yeah. 2010 or 11. Yeah.
First, 6-7 years,
Yeah.
It was you solo.
Mm-hmm.
And what changed in 10 or 11 that said, I'm going to get someone?
Just
was this
the amount of business I was doing, and not, and I had subs that had helped me, things I needed and stuff. So it was, I got Bobby calling me from ProSource. Let me get so, yeah, it was, just, I think more business, and I couldn't handle it. And the subs I had were busy doing other things too. And I was just like, stressed out all the time, and, had a young family. So, and my wife was working. So it was just a lot of things going on in life that required me to kind of decide that it was time. And, when I started the business, I wasn't making a lot of money because I was trying to build the business. So that was the sacrifice I made, early on, was like, okay, I don't need to pay myself a ton. I just need to get the business to a financially safe place, and then I can start to grow. And it took a while for me to feel comfortable doing that, and I didn't want to fail, as most business owners, they don't, that everyone says the first 5 years of your business are the hardest. And if you make it past 5 years, you might make it, So, so it's been a challenge and a growth that I, appreciate the fact that, starting from nothing to where we are today.
Makes you appreciate it for sure.
Yeah.
We are the week after CEDIA. CEDIA was last week in Indianapolis. Did you go? Were you planning to go? And we did not go. One Firefly was scheduled to go, and we ended up pulling out with the other manufacturers that did the same. But did you go?
I didn't. I feel like I might have, I don't know, you mentioned earlier, maybe a crystal ball of seeing that I just didn't, at the time, I just didn't feel confident in flying and being in an airport. And so when I was deciding back in June I just decided it was like, best to just kind of stay put and take this year off. And obviously in hindsight, that seemed to be the right decision. And it worked out pretty well for me from a financial standpoint.
That's convenient. Yeah, for sure. I'm out a few dollars as a vendor, but we won't talk about that. If anyone is watching or was at the show, drop into the notes or into the comments and let us know how it went. I'm curious.
Yeah, I'm curious. I saw some photos. It was like people posted a few photos. Origin Acoustics, obviously, they really wanted everyone to continue to go. And if I was, lived closer, maybe I would have done that, if I was in driving distance, but jumping on an airplane wasn't really in the cards right now.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So what are the big challenges or stresses on your business right now? Again, we're here in the end of Q3 2021. What's going on in business right now?
I think for me, it seems like, we're just, I think I've taxed my employees quite a bit over the last year and a half, and just not being able to bring on new people, finding qualified people in the southern part of the state is difficult. So every employee that I have had over the last 10 years has been homegrown. Essentially, they came in with some sort of a background. Most of them, I think, have bachelor's degrees in audio engineering. But had never done anything like this. They've done, board work at shows and things like that, but never done AV. And so it's been a challenge, to say the least. And I think that's my number one priority, is to try to bring on some new people. But again, it's tough when you're really busy to then all of a sudden bring on someone new right in the middle of it, and then they have to be trained through that process when your lead techs are just trying to go, and to then have to have someone coming in that's like, is really green, that is like, what do I do? Like, what's my next step? Because they only think about one thing at a time at that point, so that's a challenge. And so what I've done is, like, really just this summer just said, let's just try to keep the team we have, and let's get through this summer, and then we'll start to bring on some people in the fall and through the winter to get them up to speed for next summer. Because we're in a destination location for summer homes, so we do see a amount of people that go back to their primary residence, after Labor Day. So,
got it. And so, whereas a lot of folks listening might be in bigger cities where it's common. I'm not saying it's condoned or recommended, but it's probably common that people, when they post a job, they're, robbing Peter to pay Paul. Integrators are trading employees or staff.
Yeah.
And in your market, you don't, I'm not going to call that a luxury, but you can't even do that because there aren't that many other businesses that are similar to yours.
There's probably 4 or 5 integrators in the whole state of Maine. So there's not, that I would consider someone that has more than 1 or 2 people, working for them.
Sure.
So that's what we're dealing with. The pool is very small. I mean, you could probably say there's 30 people in this state that do what we do, which is not.
That's not a lot.
That's not a lot.
That's not a lot.
Not a lot. And, so that, and I'm lowballing that, but I don't feel like I am, just based on my experience in trying to hire people over the last 4 or 5 years. It doesn't seem like I keep asking for someone that maybe tries to move from out of state to Maine. I'm hoping for that. Someone comes from Maine, Massachusetts or New York and says, hey, I want a different quality of life. And I've done AV. So that would be,
you would cry. And after you finish crying, you would hire them and get started.
Yes.
Hey, well, but we have a little audience here on the show. Maybe someone will listen and want that quality of life in Maine.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's interesting. When you do hire that green person, what's you mentioned it briefly, maybe if you could expound, how do you go about bringing that person on that has maybe not done this job before? How do you think about bringing them up to speed?
Well, before that, I would say back in the day, it was like, all right, go out and do it, and learn on the job. And so ProSource, actually, I'm a ProSource member, and they came out with a kind of a training path. So for my last 2 employees that I hired back in February of last year, I put them through 2 to 3 weeks of just online classes and tried to get them up to speed to understand the technology, understand the process and what we do, as well as, some of our other manufacturers that have their own trainings out there. And so we continue to have them do some of that. If they get back early from a job, they got an hour to spare. Hey, jump on a class and get some background in something. And then it's just, obviously trying to get on the job training, and I'm a big proponent of that. I feel like for me, that's how I learn. And I feel like people, if they can see something and experience it, will have a better than just looking at it or reading it in a book or hearing it from somebody else. So that's kind of how we do it now. And
how long does it typically take to get somebody green up to speed so they're productive or billable for you?
I'd say 4 to 6 months but there's never like a point where I say, oh yeah, that person knows every single thing. So I'd say the first 4 to 6 months are like, they're shadowing and making sure that they're understanding the things that we're doing. And then hopefully after that, they're starting to be able to go out on their own and do service calls or be more productive on the projects because they know what they need to do. And then I'd say it takes a full year, but to really get engrossed in all the technologies that we offer.
When you look ahead, you look into your crystal ball, and we as members of, I guess you'd call it the construction industry, and on the residential side, we've been fortunate because of this virus has caused a lot of people to travel less and spend more money on their homes. At least I'm connecting the dots in terms of what makes sense to me as to why we're as an industry, we're busy. When you look into your crystal ball, how much into the future do you see this level of busyness continuing? Do you have any predictions?
Oh God, I wish I had that. I mean, obviously from what I see locally, from the housing markets up here, it's, the prices have just skyrocketed. And more people are, coming out of state, buying houses for cash, and I don't see that slowing down. I think more and more people want that quality of life of being out of the cities. But some people want to go back. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people that love the city and want to go back, but I think people are coming to Maine to get a different quality of life and to slow down a little bit. If they're 5 to 10 years out from retirement, they're looking to come here and finish off working from home. And so I don't see things slowing down for a while. I mean, the interest rates are good. I mean, everything seems to be going well. So people are still building and people are spending more and more money at their houses.
No, that's confidence building. You mentioned that you and your team were taxed. Are you guys a 6 day a week, 7 day a week workforce right now, or how are you managing?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. When I started the business, I grew up in an industry with my parents working all the time. And I promised myself when I started a business that I would take the weekends for my family and to be around my kids. And so I've always ran my business just the 5 days. And I think that a lot of people enjoy that time to just kind of decompress and have those couple days to unwind before the work week starts again. And I mean, we could work 7 days a week. I just don't know that, morale would be great or, people especially summertime here in Maine is the best time of the year. We're not frozen. So we want to get out and enjoy the activities that you can with your families. And so, yeah, I think that's how I've always kind of run my business is just that time frame. And we obviously provide support on the weekends. We have a 24/7, 365 support mechanism for people. So there's that part of our business.
How are you doing that? Is that you're on call 24/7? That your wife has to love that.
Well, before we just started with One Vision about a year ago, and before that, it was a few of my employees, myself, on call all the time, text, emails, phone calls at whatever hour someone wanted to do that, and so that was, I think, difficult for as we grew and got bigger and more customers. You figure we might add 40 to 60 customers a year. And then obviously, and over the years, you start to accumulate a lot of people that be calling you potentially, obviously. So we brought on One Vision, and it's been a game changer for our business. And as far as their process and procedures, bringing that into our small business, which I didn't have to create myself and try to come up with all that information as well as the process to do it. So it's been great for our customers. They've had a good experience with it. It is definitely something where we had some pushback here or there for a few clients, but for the most part, they love it. They love that at any hour of the day, they can call someone and someone's going to try to help them out, or at least know that there's a response, not just at 10 o'clock. Sometimes I look at my phone, I'm like, I'm not sending you a text back, because then the expectation is there that I'm going to respond to you at 10 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock at night. So I just wait till the morning. But if someone wants that now, they can obviously get someone to respond to them and talk to them.
What are the exact mechanics during the Monday through Friday? If it's business hours, are you answering? And if it's beyond that, is One Vision answering, or what are the detailed mechanics, if you don't mind?
Yeah. So One Vision answers, well, phone call wise, it goes to them all the time. So 24/7, they're getting every phone call. Then they try to troubleshoot over the phone, triage. And if it requires a more in-depth conversation or an on-site visit, it gets essentially sent to our internal, what we call our advanced team. So, we're all considered ourselves, one team, our basic. And so we're seeing all the email chains that they've had with customers, the phone calls. And so when we get the call, that's essentially the ticket that says this person called in, this is what we've done. And it's going to require, looks like it's going to require someone to come on site. Then we would then call the customer we have a certain SLA that we have to respond by. And then we would reach out to the customer and schedule that time.
And what has been the response from your customers? Has the level of service to your customer gone up, or is it the same, but it's just relieved from the pressure being on your shoulders to now you have this partner fielding it?
I feel like the customers, and again, it's tough to, I hear good things. But I'm sure there's people customers that maybe don't like it because they used to call Jeff and they want to talk to Jeff.
Jeff would answer at 11 o'clock on a Saturday night.
Or they want to talk to one of my employees. Where's this guy? How come he doesn't answer the phone anymore? Is he still work for you? I was right. It's like, they still work for me. They just don't take the texts and calls. So I think that's a change for the customers, is that they're dealing with other people they might not know, and they just can't say, well, you remember when you did this. They have to go through a process. And I think all in all, we've really liked the way it is. And for us, yes, it takes that burden off, because my guys would get called in the field, and they'd be trying to troubleshoot with a customer on the phone as they're supposed to be finishing another customer's job. So that has helped us focus when we're at clients' houses that, well, hey, this is what we're focused on. And your job is the most important one right now because we're here, and then someone calls in, my office coordinator kind of talks with them and keeps it off from the guy so that they can focus on their work.
Have you managed to turn service into a revenue generator in the form of an RMR component? Is there a recurring piece of revenue coming from service beyond just the billable service work? Or how has that changed, if at all, for you over the last few years?
Yeah, I'd say obviously with One Vision, it's it's a paid service for our clients. They can obviously just accept our terms of service and not do anything, and they can just call in and it gets pushed to us right to advanced, and they wait till we get back to them. And then we have clients with different packages that they pay for, and we generate revenue for that. But then we pay One Vision a certain fee every month to run that part of their business, and to have those people on staff. And so as of right now, it's not, I wouldn't say it's generating enough revenue to cover that cost, but as we grow, at some point we'll break even. And then I'm not looking at it as necessarily a profit center, as more of a to provide our clients with better service than they would have had before.
And it sounds like your quality of life's gotten better since you're not getting those phone calls on your weekend.
I mean, I still see the tickets, and we still see that, and we kind of look at them and on the weekends, and you can't help it. I mean, I'm a small business owner. If I'm not on my phone, I check my emails, and pretty much, I don't know, feels like every 10 minutes.
My wife and son, they are pretty confident I'm addicted to my phone, and I'm like, man, it's hard to not just check your phone every 5 minutes. And I think it is a sickness, by the way. And I'm pretty sure I'm sick.
Yeah. I mean, it's for me, it's just like, I just want to stay on top of things. And if someone, if there's a good, client, all the good clients, but if there's somebody that's really struggling with something and they're just, down and out for the weekend, we have guys on call. So that's the other thing. We never had an on-call program. It was just like, I get a text and then I send a text out to all my employees. Can anybody do this? Can anybody? And it was like, oh, well, I'm out with my family. Oh, I'm here. And I'll be like, okay, hon, I got to go because no one else can do it. So now it's like we have dedicated on-call, and we compensate the guys for that to make sure that they're taken care of as part of their on-call duties. And it's a rotation. So it works out pretty well. Everyone seems to like it. So,
all right. Question from left field here. What, if any, technologies have you really excited right now? What sort of either solutions or offerings that are new-ish are now top of mind for you and important, and you see them growing in your business?
Yeah. Well, I think lighting and shading have been one of the things in my part of my business that I didn't, if you'd asked me 8 years ago, I would have said, I'm not doing shading and lighting control. I mean, that's not what AV guys do. And at the time I was just like thinking about learning another product and having to teach guys or having
You're like,
to do
oh
it.
God, this is going to be really hard.
Yeah. I was like, no, I don't want to do it. So, I mean, we had been getting asked. And so we started doing shades, and then we started doing lighting control, and it's a big part of our business now. I don't know where my business would be without it. I mean, it's a huge part of what we do.
What does it mean, lighting and so I get motorized shading. So and I love shading, and I always show off. I have my little here. I'm going to demo it for those watching the video. There's my little Lutron triathlon shade here in my office. So I love shading. When you say lighting, are you doing just the control systems, or are you doing the fixtures as well?
Both. But fixtures has been something that's more recent and something that I'm really looking to grow. Part of our business, we're catcher dealers from Lutron, and we do USAI lighting from Savant. So we've got a project going right now with 120 catcher fixtures that we're putting in, and looking forward to that. That's our real first job with getting going with this, other than showroom stuff.
I have to pull a thread on that. All right. How did you make that sale? How did you bring the subject up? How did you did the customer come to you inquiring, or did you bring up tunable lighting?
Yeah, I brought up tunable lighting. I talked to them. It was a large project, and so the budget seemed to be there for this kind of a product. And so we brought it up, talked to him about it, told him what we could do with it. And he was like, yeah, let's do it. And so we didn't do it everywhere. We did it in certain rooms of the house, and main floor living, and they have a finished basement and stuff. So that was kind of, it's been neat, and super excited about it.
Did you have to demo it, or were you able to do it with words? Just words and pictures.
Yeah, just words. Trusting that we knew what we were talking about.
Yeah.
And the technology is amazing. And we've been down to the catcher facility, and it's wow.
Which one? The one in Austin?
Yeah, it's the one in Austin. Before they had opened to the public, we had our training there. So, and it was just amazing, the stuff that they were doing. I see you have some catcher lights in your background. It looks like
These are cheap Chinese knockoffs, giving me my little splash of color. But I'm currently doing a little project in my backyard, and my next upgrade will be adding Ketra to the house. But
it's great.
On my roadmap.
They keep, obviously, like all the manufacturers, they keep the price is something that has been a kind of a tough part of this, because people are not used to paying for fixtures at that level for like recessed fixtures. I mean, maybe for their chandeliers or for, specialty lighting. But now when you're talking about an individual fixture that goes into a recessed can where you can buy at Home Depot for $25, all of a sudden they're looking at something that's that much money. But the power of it and what it can do, and as well as they're obviously innovating to bring the cost down. They're coming out with different products that are retrofittable. There's a lot there that we're excited about, and partnering with electricians to, make sure that they're, because it's a difficult. We've had some difficult times with the whole process of, working with electricians, and all of a sudden now they're not providing the fixture and we're providing a fixture. And what does that mean to their business?
That makes you a bit of the enemy, does it not?
Yeah. It was definitely been a little bit of a challenge. And so what we're trying to do going forward is to treat them more as partners and more of as a distributor for them to get the physical fixture and work with them on that. So that's a big part of what we're doing now, is when we're talking with, specifiers, and also for electricians as well, so that, we don't want to come in and take revenue away from them, because that doesn't make a good partner. And it also doesn't make you want to work with that person on the job and help you out. So we're conscious of that. And we're trying to do our best to, as we've navigated this new world of fixture business that we never had before. It's been one of the challenges.
What has helped you along the way in learning that? It sounds like that I know a little bit about the politics in the lighting business, only because I was exposed to it lightly at my early career at Lutron. And when I say politics of, between the electrical contractor, the distributors, the people doing the specifications, there's just a lot of politics in terms of moving those products. What has helped you navigate and figure out how to do that? Did you just figure it out on your own, or what have you leaned on?
I've leaned on our rep firms, our Lutron partners, our Savant, partner. Savant's been great with us. Trainings, trying to understand, talking to other integrators that have done it or have been successful with it. What have they done? It's, that's what I get when we talk about going to CEDIA. I mean, that's what I get out of CEDIA is talking with other dealers about what are they dealing with. We're in Maine. I mean, so I think the technology starts from, California and moves to the last place on earth, which is Maine. So it's the way I look at technology and its adoption, Sure. The fact that I feel like we have a catcher job here in Maine is kind of like this crazy thing, and we're talking about it with people, and everyone that I bring in, we have a showroom and that I'm sitting in now, but like when we bring people in here and they experience it, that's when it's like, oh, yeah, I love that. That's awesome, And so that's kind of what we feel. And if we can bring the electricians in and we can show people what the technology can do, that helps. But for the most part, we've had to rely on, Lutron reps and our Savant reps to help us with just understanding it and the trainings that we've been going through. And it's a whole different part of our business that we didn't have before. It's not AV, so it's definitely different.
Well, Jeff, the time is the time, and we are at the end of our interview. How can the folks that are listening or watching get in touch with you? What would you recommend?
My email is it's a long one, but it's Jeff at SmartHome Solutions Inc.com. That's INC.com. I'm on LinkedIn and I'm on Facebook. So by all means, reach out. Happy to answer everybody's questions, or if someone's got ideas for me, I'm all ears. I'm not a person. I'm an open book. I like to hear from other people as well, and try to gain whatever knowledge they have, and maybe incorporate it into my life and my business. And those are all important things to learn in life, that we don't know everything, and we're always open to new things and new experiences.
I see my team is already dropping your email and your web and social. We'll drop all that down into the comments for everybody that wants easy access to get in touch with Jeff. I'm late to the game here, later than normal, but I do want to say, Bridget says, awesome company and crew. I'm assuming you know Bridget, maybe. And
Yes,
we have Ellie. Ellie's actually here at One Firefly. She says, Jeff is going to knock this interview out of the park. Excited to watch.
Yeah, Ellie's been great. You have a good team over there.
Well, well, speaking of our team, Josh is my man. So there you go. Jeff, it's been a pleasure having you on the show, sir. And again, thanks for your many years of friendship and business, and cheers to many more.
Yeah, and when you get up in the area to Kennebunk Port, we can go get some lobster rolls, and you got to get up here sooner or later.
We're definitely gonna. I went to a conference a number of years back in Portland, and I'm pretty confident I'm going to go to that conference. It's usually in September, but it'll be September 2022. So mark your calendars. You and I are going to be eating lobster rolls.
Yeah, absolutely.
Early September 2022. I'm going to be there.
Great. Sounds great. Well, thanks a lot for the time, and appreciate you bringing me on. I had fun.
My pleasure. Thanks so much, Jeff. Be well.
Yeah, take care.
All right, folks, there you have it. That was Jeff and Jeff Binette from SmartHome Solutions in Kennebunkport, Maine. And this has been show 186. So thank you, as always, for tuning in. If you have not already done so, again, we are streaming here on Facebook and LinkedIn, but the show is available as a podcast. So if you prefer to consume your content in your ears, definitely be sure to subscribe to Automation Unplugged. Just search for the show and you will find it. And on that note, definitely check out our website. Give us a call if we can ever be of service to you here at One Firefly. And I'm going to bid you adieu, and I will see you next week. Thanks so much, everyone.